Hey, New York Jet fans from all around the world. Welcome to Laugh Through the Turbulence, a New York Jets podcast, the show that delivers you all your Jets content. Here are your hosts, John, Adden, and Monty. All the best to the New York Jet fans. J-E-T-S, Jets, 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 go Jets.
Hey, everybody.
What's up? What's up?
How's it going, everyone?
That's what's up. Yeah.
Terrible.
All right.
Terrible.
Yeah, we almost thought about recording last night to those that actually listen to this show. But Monty was, for some reason, an hour away from his house, so we didn't do it.
Minutes.
And our chat last night was feisty.
Yeah.
I think I called you. You were acting like a Cowboys fan at one point.
Yeah, well, I wasn't, though. You just were mad.
Yeah, I don't know. Why don't you get into it, Monty? Go for it. What's grinding your gears?
All right, so first of all, I think that you and Adnan, and I think all of us kind of just were maybe a little, just heated by the game and stuff like that, and just took it to a level that maybe we weren't necessarily going to, because me personally, there was a lot of positives, right? We had Aaron Rodgers stringing together some drives there, had amazing precision at times, the free plays, the free play king, you know what I mean, nailed it. Lazard, 2 touchdown game for Lazard. I mean, great. Get his confidence back. If he can be a competent wide receiver 3, that's nothing but good, right? And pass protection was there. But what was really pissing me off was there's just a lot of negatives. And to me, personally, I think I saw our hopes for this being a Super Bowl team. I think I saw our hopes kind of go down the tubes last night already.
In one game.
Yeah, in one game.
No serious injuries.
Yeah, man. Because here's the thing, right? All right, I'll give you an analogy, right?
A very new team.
If you see a dude that's he's let's say, 5'6", right? But he's nasty at basketball, right? Great jump shot, handles, all that, right? But he's 5'6". And then you see him play with a bunch of kids, and he's like, "Oh, I want to play in college. I want to go to league. That's my dream." And then you see him play with a bunch of McDonald's All-American players in a pickup game, and they just you can tell the difference. The kid doesn't have the height. He has the ability, right? He has some skills. He looks good, right? Great player. But you can tell that there is a class difference. There is a tier and a level difference between this kid and those McDonald's All-American players, right? What we saw was a really good team play a great team. And I don't think that the gap between those teams is surmountable for the Jets with the coaching that they have. And with, I think, the talent that they have right now. I mean, all we heard all off season was how the Jets are the most complete, or one of the most complete rosters in the league, and this and that. I didn't see that last night. I saw a really good team that has some promise with a lot of rust. I saw bad coaching. I saw a team get out schemed. I saw Breece Hall not be what Breece Hall needs to be. I saw a poor pass rush. I saw bad run blocking. I saw bad run defense. I saw inability to create turnovers, and I saw a lot of poor tackling. A lot of these things are fixable, right? But to me, a Super Bowl team, if you're coming out and you're saying that you're going to try to win a Super Bowl, I think that you need to come out stronger than that. I think this game should have been a lot more competitive and a lot closer if we are a legitimate Super Bowl contender, right? If our goal is just make playoffs, this is a team. I'm not worried about that at all. This team is going to the playoffs, in my opinion. But I didn't see Super Bowl contender, which is what we're looking for, right? Like, so first of all, can we agree on that? Can we agree that the goal of an NFL team is Super Bowl, not make playoffs and not be competitive? Can we at least agree on that?
I'm gonna just stick with this notion: one game at a time.
Well, I think, Monty.
Wait. But no,
you
it's
don't focus on the future. You
it's-
focus on the next game, right?
No, but
But yeah, I
like,
mean, Monty,
answer
I
my
think
question.
It is, but it's
Well,
cumulative to get there,
okay.
obviously. But you can't. It's like when we were working at Strat, big, hairy, audacious goal. You know what I mean? Obviously that, but you gotta do the steps to get there.
Yes.
right, and I think I get what you're saying. That the goal for every single team, the goal for the Panthers is to win the Super Bowl. Right?
Well,
It's not just the goal. Like that's the expectation that you have of every season, even the 13 seasons prior to this, when the Jets haven't made the playoffs.
Okay, so we agree. So now based on that, right? That is why we went and got Rodgers, right? We went and got Rodgers obviously because he's a great football player. He's a Hall of Fame, future Hall of Famer, this, that.
Well, that's never do it. Yeah.
That's a strong reason why we got him, but we got him to win a Super Bowl now, or to try and make ourselves as competitive as possible now to win a Super Bowl, because we have not done what we're supposed to do in the draft and draft a competent QB. All right. So we had to go out and essentially rent one or buy one, right?
Darnold looked pretty good yesterday.
Similar to
Sunday.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. Don't remind
I'll
me.
get into that in a little bit.
But similar to the Rams, right? The Rams, they were a quarterback away, and then they went and got a quarterback, and then they won a Super Bowl, right? So like the Jets had a similar kind of thought process, because we went from just no talent whatsoever, where like Quincy Enunwa was like a guy that we were like, oh yeah, this guy's awesome, and like Michael Carter, as our starting running back, and all kinds of crazy, terrible talent, right? The ghost of Le'Veon Bell and all those bad years that were behind us, right? To all of a sudden, we have Sauce Gardner, we have Quinnen Williams, we have Garrett Wilson, we have Breece Hall, we have like all like that, like all of a sudden. So it was like we're behind the eight ball. We need a QB that can support and take these guys forward, right? So we went and got that. So that means, to me, this is a win now Super Bowl team. Like, we are trying to go to the Super Bowl ASAP. Rodgers doesn't have a ton of time. We cannot be looking like this at any point in our season if we are serious about winning a Super Bowl, right? And a big part of that is what I was talking about with Reddick, right? I think that now, does Reddick make this game a 0, like a 24-0 Jets win? No, it doesn't, right? But the Jets lost, 3 of their 5 best pass rushers in 23, right? We lost Huff, we lost Franklin Myers, we lost Quentin Jefferson, and the only replacement we added for that is someone who is sitting on his ass. All right, so that means our pass rush was massively downgraded, like compared to where it just was a year ago. And we've been trying to rely on these like UDFA guys and, development to try to, make up that gap. But you can't do that. I mean, other than Clemens had an unblocked sack, right? And what was there? There was another one. There's a QB hit from Quinnen Williams. Other than that, there wasn't anything out of the combination of Clemens, Jermaine, Kinlaw, Solomon Thomas, Will McDonald, Tack McKinley, Braden, McGregor, and Jalen Holmes, who's coming up from the practice squad. Like, we just were not, really strong with that defensive upfront push, and we really needed a body like Reddick on the line. Period. And he's a good run stopper. He is a great 3-down skill set guy. We needed that, and it just wasn't there. It wasn't there. I mean, what do you guys think about that?
Oh, now we can talk. Okay, go ahead. No,
Yeah.
I'll give. Yeah, you went on for a fucking minute there. All right, go ahead.
It's a
Yeah, no,
lot.
I think that when we look at last night, right, I think you have to look at a few different things. 98% of what Monty said is all correctable in terms of tackling, scheme, all of those things. There were so many mitigating factors to last night's game that made the Jets not look great, but all of it is correctable, right? First, let's start with the tackling. This is what you're going to see against a team that has been together for 5 years. You're going to see the scheme. You're going to see, them running the football. And listen, the last time this unit was on the field together in a game was in January, right? These things are going to happen. So I'm not overly concerned about that.
The defense.
Right. The defense doesn't concern me. The offense didn't have the ball enough to really get any type of rhythm or momentum. If you look at the second quarter, right, with 5 minutes and 30 seconds left in the quarter to 7 minutes and change left in the third quarter, the Jets offense touched the ball for one play, which was a kneel down, right? The offense didn't have an opportunity to do anything. So I think when you look at what happened last night, a key thing for me is it's almost better for them to get punched in the mouth game one. And they all kind of, not all of them, but a lot of them said last night, look, this is a Super Bowl outfit. This is a championship team they have over there. And listen, now they see what the standard is. And now there's something to work towards. If they went out and they smashed a Panthers team, it's false bravado, right? It doesn't mean anything. So I think you have a lot of lessons to take away from yesterday, most of which are correctable with reps, with time. You're breaking in 3/5 of your offensive line, which really impacts the run blocking and the run game. You're breaking in a bunch of new defensive linemen, which will impact the run game, which will impact, pressure and things of that nature. So I think they will be fine. And I think they really needed to see what they saw last night, right? Do I still think this team can win a Super Bowl? Absolutely, right? They have the talent at the key places to do it. And listen, there are plenty of teams that don't get off to a hot start, that look bad in the beginning of a season and rally and get better and better and better and better. Your quarterback hadn't played a full game in over 500 days, right? So I think this team will get better as the season goes on, and there's a lot of opportunity for improvement, and I'm excited to see where they go from here. And I think everything is on the table for this team. 6 weeks from now, they'll be able to play with that 49ers team. So I have no worries. Came out of the game healthy, did some nice things on offense. The defense saw what they need to do, where they need to get better, and now we're on to Tennessee. And that's kind of how I look at last night.
There you go. Okay. So this is what I'm going to say. I think the most atrocious thing of last night was actually on the defensive front, right? The tackling, I think that is correctable, and there's the other thing, right? That defense actually hasn't had to fucking tackle since January either, So that's one thing. Two, they did periodically have guys get a little bit banged up during it. Like Sauce went out for a minute, CJ Mosley went out for a minute, Michael Carter went out for a minute a little bit later in the game. So that might have fucked things up, because what was weird about the way the Jets defense started, it looked like they were an all-pro defense first two drives, right? It was 2 3 and outs, right? One thing I will note, Leonard Taylor wasn't there in the game, and in the interior, only 3 guys really rotated in the interior. Kinlaw, Solomon Thomas, and Quinnen, who also didn't have a great game outside of a good stretch in the beginning, right? Where I think he actually lined up on the edge and got like a really nice pressure out of that. But those guys that defense got gassed. They just got gassed. And when a defense gets gassed and you can just run the ball like you did, and it was interesting, they ran early with Debo, and then they brought in was it Mason right later in the game, because Debo is fucking hard to tackle, man. They just got punished in the beginning, I think, and then it just kind of went downhill. Even the Jets' first touchdown drive when they took the lead early, like that was pretty quick. It felt pretty quick, right? I think that defense could have a bad game. I think it'll be okay. Would have been better with Reddick in there, yeah. But I think the key thing was missing was in the interior of that D line, if that makes sense. I will say this: Rodgers looked good to me. I mean, yeah, he's not as fast as he used to be, but I mean, he looked good. I mean, even the interception, that was just a great fucking defensive play. Maybe it was a little bit too in the middle for Garrett. Mind you that he had to Rodgers' pocket was collapsing a little bit, couldn't really step into it, had to be a little bit on his back foot or flat-footed to throw that. But even PFF, and I'm just going to reference PFF every once in a while, that wasn't considered a turnover-worthy play that he did. So Rodgers, basically the sharpness of Rodgers and some of those big boy throws that he made were fucking phenomenal, right? And also it was great to see that free play. When the free play happened, I was like, free fight, and touchdown, right away.
Oh,
and actually, fun fact, Rodgers was given the 4th highest passing grade of the week amongst all the quarterbacks. Darnold was 2nd, which is interesting. I just think, honestly, I think that was just more the issue. And then obviously, it felt like on that first drive, if Lazard catches that ball, I feel like they go score the touchdown on that drive. I feel like they do. Just because, straight up, Breece had but 2-3 yard runs, right? And it just looked like that was going to – and I think it was a play action, right, for the Lazard pass, right? I could be wrong on that. But it just kind of felt like, once if they get in rhythm, which – it feels like they can. And honestly, there wasn't at any point when Rodgers had the ball on offense where I didn't feel confident that they could do something with it. And I think that's something that's very different with just having him there versus any other quarterback that we've seen in our lifetimes. You know what I mean? Yeah. The offense feels like it could score at any point. And Niners are really fucking good. I mean, going into this season, that was the Super Bowl favorite, or tied for the odds for Super Bowl favorite with Kansas City, right? And Kansas City, because you won 3 in the last 5 years, right? So you're going to be the Super Bowl favorite, right? But Niners were, that's cream of the crop. And I know it's a little disappointing, right? Not feeling like we're cream of the crop game 1 on the road. Also felt like guys slipped a lot on that field, which was a little interesting. Even Lazard on that first drop, I don't know if you noticed, when he did turn, he did slip. He was trying to regain his footing when he dropped that ball, which felt a little weird. But that's a grass field, so it's as good as it can be. But it's just something to note. But yeah, I mean, we can go into the grades a little bit later, but I'll let you guys kind of sit with that information those thoughts that I just.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so my thought on that is, as I said in the beginning, offense was fine. I wasn't actually worried about the offense. To me, it goes back to the whole Reddick thing. We had no pressure at all. He was only pressured on 28% of his dropbacks, and the league average is 36%, and his average is 35%. That's the amount of pressure he faced last year in terms of on his dropbacks. So we're starting out way below average. That's not good. And I think it comes back to what I said.
They got gas.
Oh man, dude, I warned you guys about this, man. I told you ahead of time, this Reddick thing is going to impact us a lot more than you guys were trying to dismiss it and say it wasn't going to be a thing, blah, blah, blah. We got no pressure because we didn't have our number 1 pass rusher on the field, period. That's a big deal.
I will say this: that team is very run heavy. I mean, if you look at the splits of run to pass on that one, it's really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
he's also
Yeah. I just want to do that real quick. It's
Sure.
38 rush attempts to 29 pass attempts, right? And a lot of those pass attempts are going to be play action, right?
Mhm.
So like, and like that's the thing that people forget about the Niners, right? Like, so like, yeah, the O line isn't like the Lions or the Ravens of last year or anything like that, but like fucking Debo, Juszczyk, Kittle, I mean, those guys can really fucking block, right? And like the way they've used those guys, and they used a lot of swing tackles too, I believe, like in a lot of run sets to even set up for the pass, right? Like they really had it. Like Shanahan, like he fucking outcoached Saleh and company, right? And even Ulbrich, I guess, right?
Absolutely.
Because they absolutely outcoached us. But as Adnan said, this could be a nice little fucking wake up call, right, for the whole team. And I immediately decided to slam the Titans against the Titans and the Jets over on the points and everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah.
in terms of being out coached, right? I kind of look at that from a lot of different perspectives. First and foremost, I'll say this until football doesn't exist anymore. Kyle Shanahan is going to do
fucking dare
this.
you say that?
Kyle Shanahan is going to do this to 85 to 90% of the teams he faces, right? You also have to keep in mind that Shanahan also had an entire offseason to prepare for this game. Again, he has his guys in that system for years and years and years. So the system is second nature to them, right? When you're breaking in new guys on offense and defense, there's going to be a lag, right? So yes, is Shanahan a great coach? Absolutely. Is he going to do this to a lot of different teams? Absolutely. But excuse me, let me also ask you guys, how many times have we watched Jet games over the past 2 seasons and said, oh, the Jets defensive staff got outcoached? It doesn't happen often.
It's actually rare in our lifetime.
It's very rare that happens.
You said the Dolphins game and the Bills game last year.
Yeah, there were a couple of games you can point to.
Dolphins
and
game
this
for
is
sure.
one of them, right? And so I think that game one on the road, breaking in new pieces, quarterback again hadn't played in 500 days, something was going to give. And to look at it from, well, the Jets got out coached and that's it. They're not in the tier of the 49ers. Right now,
Yeah,
they aren't, but they're close and they can get there, right? They can get there. I think that's the difference between like your analogy, Monty, of the 5'6" kid playing with the McDonald's All-Americans is the Jets aren't the 5'6" kid. They're the 6'4" kid who's a McDonald's All-American that
they got to prove
that didn't start playing basketball until his junior year in high school.
They got to prove that. You
And
can't say that.
Monty,
You can't say that at this point.
Monty, my point is that they have the attributes that they can grow into. This isn't a team like last year when Rodgers got hurt. You knew it was over, right?
Yeah.
It's not over for this team because they have a lot of talent that can grow. Yes, I agree 100%. They have to prove it. But you're not looking at a team that is, wanting for talent. The only thing that, we can say from a player perspective is Reddick, right? Outside of that, there's talent at every level of this team.
They are wanting on the D line, though.
Let me ask you something, Monty. Okay, remember last year? I think it was like week 16, right? Or week 17. Baltimore went into San Francisco and absolutely destroyed them.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely destroyed them. And like it wasn't like this game where like this game, at least the Jets put up 3 touchdowns. Yes, one was garbage time, but they put up 3 touchdowns. Okay. And is it because it's San Francisco and the pedigree that was there and they got all the way to that point being so good and going to win the NFC, and all that, like you gave that a pass, right? And
it's
mind you,
17.
both sides of the ball got destroyed, right? Offensively and defensively, they got destroyed in that game.
Were they even playing all their starters in week 17?
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, that was they'll try and lock in the 1 seed, and luckily, like the Eagles lost, and then like the Cowboys,
They clinched anyway.
Yeah, they ended up clinching anyway. It might have been week 16 last year, but it was like really close to the end of the year last year.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not a big deal because it's, you're going to lose games. Like you're going to lose games
again,
even at
it's a whole
even
fucking
at that
season. The whole
even at
fucking
that
season.
level. Even at that level of the Niners, you're going to have your bad days and you're going to lose games, right? But like that's after an entire season of kicking ass. That's not like starting the season out that way and then, and listen, we're going to
That's it. The first round in the boxing fight didn't go so great.
we
Right?
needed
But it's not
look,
over. That's
we needed to make a statement too. We really
it
could.
would have been nice.
It was a great opportunity for us to make a statement, and it's really
They had to leave.
disappointing that they did not. They just simply did not. They
Well,
did
it
it.
makes you feel any better, guys, right? I mean, Niners only scored 2 touchdowns, right? I mean, yes, 6 fucking field goals, right? Fucking kudos to was Moody, got 6 field goals. It was definitely
Moody.
kicker 1 for the week, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, like I honestly, I think the defense just got gassed and a little bit fucking dinged up early on. I mean, when Mosley went out for a bit, that was not good, right? I think that's when the first touchdown drive did happen, when Mosley did come out. Kudos to Purdy, though. I mean, he actually I think he had the best passing grade for the week, or the best over offensive grade for the week amongst all quarterbacks. He was quite good, and he
had a million years to throw.
Well, I mean,
he did have more time than average. Yes, he did. Once again, a gassed defensive line that can't rotate like that, mind you this, as I said, only 3 D interiors, and Quinnen didn't have the Quinnen game, right? That you'd expect, right?
Well, one of the things that I'll also say, right, is we're not giving enough credit to the 49ers.
You should, yeah.
Right? We have to give them credit for everything they did to the Jets, right? They showed things that they didn't even show last season, right? I think Troy Aikman said a couple of times with the use check catches, he was like, he doesn't really have an opportunity to catch the ball. They designed things that just came out. There were a lot of things that went into it that you have to give the 49ers credit for. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do Sunday. They're playing at Minnesota. It's a 1 p.m. Eastern game, so 10 a.m. their body clock. Let's see what it looks like there, because I have a feeling they're going to do this to almost every team they play.
Look,
and just mind you this too: the Jets, they're going against Will Levis.
Yeah, I mean that's
Will
not even
Levis.
No one's worried about that game, John.
Yeah,
that's the only worry is if we lose that game. If we lose that game,
I'd
that
be
is a big. That's a big fucking problem.
If they lose that game, then it's you hit the alarm, right?
Or if we go through that game and we don't have any pressure again, no sacks, nothing like that, big problem too. Big problem, in my opinion, because. What's the Titans line? What's their PFF like?
All right, so I got all this at my disposal, right? Okay,
Perfect.
Titans pass blocking was 30th to 32 last week.
Okay,
and the run blocking wasn't much better. Run blocking was, it was better.
Yeah,
it was better. I'm trying to look for him. I hate that logo. It's really hard to find it. 25th.
Yeah,
Jets were 24th in the run blocking. Anyway, you guys want to hear some grades for the all right, I'll do the blocking, right? Overall, I'll do overalls, but basically Veritaka was a 67.5, 76.7 pass block. Same thing with John Simpson, who was basically there too. Tyron Smith was a 65.6 overall, 74 run block with a 64 pass block. Mind you, he's going against fucking Bosa, right?
Right.
Okay, Tippmann was pretty standard, right? 56 in the middle, 50 run block, 76.9 pass block. Morgan Moses was bad. I will just say that he was a 42 overall, 58 run block, 22 pass block. He was not good. And luckily, you got Fashanu, who's been talking right, in a worst case scenario. But it's weird because Moses last year was actually really good against the Niners, but Simpson was really good against the Niners last year. On the defensive side, I mean, as I said, we only had 3 guys rotating in the D interior. Top dog was DJ Reed, Quincy, Tony Adams, Holmes, CJ, Sauce, and a little bit of Eccles that you saw.
Yeah, Tony Adams had like the most defensive stats, most tackles, and he had a sack, I think.
Yeah, Kinlaw was actually pretty decent. He had a 79.1 pass rush grade, 2 pressures, 2 hurries, whatever. Clemens was actually the most effective edge rusher with a 64.7, then Will McDonald 62.6. As I said, though, that D line, the tackling grades are just fucking atrocious. They're just atrocious.
As they should be.
Yeah, Quinnen was not very effective at 51.2. According to the grades, Jermaine had a really bad game too, like a really, really bad game for Jermaine. And I guess on defense, I mean, the one thing I noticed, I thought Ashton had a really bad game, and the grades kind of spoke for that. 35. I mean, he had some really bad moments on the field. Let's see what Chuck Clark did. Chuck Clark was pretty much in the middle. Tony Adams had a good game. He's a dog. Michael Carter had an okay game. I don't know, but like fucking Rodgers, man. I mean, like I'm just looking at these stats: an 84.4 pass grade and an 86 overall. Like, yeah, that's pretty fucking good. You know, I mean, it's what I thought, right? The guy looked like, especially, I thought, like after that, like in the middle of that first touchdown drive, when there was a moment where he had a big time throw to Garrett across the middle for a first down, like to get into the red zone, and they came panned at Rodgers' face, and he was just like, ooh, you know, I was like, that's my guy, you know, and I
like that 50-50 ball he threw, and where Garrett had his back kind of to the defender and caught it and just bodied into him. It was
I think it
was fucking filthy.
That combo is going to be like Devontae Adams and Rodgers.
Rodgers' best throw of the night, though, was the first one that Lazard caught. Like the anticipation on that throw, that was the best throw of the night. Yeah. And I think I think when you look at Rodgers, like this is what you want to see, right? Like you look at Rodgers and he looked fine, you know? And I think the more that you get this offense the ball, the more they can get into a rhythm, they're just going to get better and better and better. You know, Breece and Garrett looked great. You know, Breece did have the fumble, but, you know, Warner's just an absolute game wrecker.
Yeah, Breece looked like he could fucking move. Like,
he looked like he could move.
And like first, he was getting contacted a lot, and he was
he was contacted.
He was getting at least another yard or two.
Yeah, and he was catching the ball out of the backfield, you know. And I thought one of the things that was interesting on that long touchdown drive, I thought the play calling was pretty good and creative, right? They were running a little bit of motion. They ran that orbit motion and then threw the ball to Garrett, and Conklin was the lead blocker and the left side of the line. Like, I think they do have the ability with more reps and with, you know, just having the ball more, hopefully next week, that the offense can look pretty good. So it'll be interesting, right? You got to incorporate Mike Williams. He was on a severe pitch count, you know, but I think that will change as we move forward. So I think a lot to like from the offense. I think that Lazard drop on the first drive was a killer because, like John said, I think they convert there. They have a chance to, at minimum, I think, get 3, score a touchdown. So there were a lot of things that I think you can attribute to rust and not playing for a while that I think will be corrected moving forward.
Yeah, and as I said, the pick was just a fucking amazing play. They were moving on that drive. They were moving on that first drive. So I feel like those first 2 drives, they were going to get kind of going, and the rhythm just got held up, right? And then there was a couple of miscues. Like, I know there was the one where Garrett, for some reason, his heel came down first, but then his toe came down, and then that was considered out of bounds on the last drive.
Right.
Participated in, like, and then there was another ball where Garrett I think it was a miscommunication on a go route. It you know what I mean? And it led to it still had a big gain by Breece on the next haul. And actually, this is the one thing that I thought was very strange, right? Outside of the last drive with Conklin and Braylon Allen getting targets, that was just the 3 people targeted. Like, there was no Corley, there was no Gibson. Obviously, Mike Williams maybe does change a whole lot, but Conklin didn't see any targets. But that's interesting, given that, like, I guess Fred Warner would have been covering him if anything.
Well, you know,
like, I know Greenlaw wasn't there, but like
Fred Warner was a menace. He was everywhere.
He was a
menace. But I have a theory on that, and I think the reason why they were just targeting Garrett and Breece is because I think the coaching staff knew we're going to have limited possessions, right? And we need to get the ball into, like, our guys' hands. Like, we can't waste any time with this. And, because a lot of times you'll see a team will come out and be like, listen, on this upcoming drive, we're going to try to get Mike Williams involved. We're going to throw him a couple no matter what. We're going to try to get him involved. But I think with the way the game flow was, it was just like, man, we can't waste 1 second because the more we give the ball to Breece and Garrett, the bigger chance we have to break something, right? So I think next week we'll probably see people get involved a lot more because game flow will allow for it. That game flow last night for the Jets offense was not going to be conducive to really anything. So it was a tough night. Don't get me wrong, but I think there are much better days ahead.
Yeah, I think there's still better days ahead. I mean, it's gonna take a minute, but so it's weird, right? So I'm gonna just do the time of possession by Jets possession, right? The punt was 129, and there's 2 run plays to start off before the punt, right? So 129, right? The fumble was 1 play, 2 yards, and actually, if Breece gets through Fred Warner, who made that fucking great play, like he that's a first down, right? And you didn't get to see that, but anyway, next touchdown, 12 plays, 70 yards, 7 minutes, right, and change. Jets 3 and out, which had, I think that was the deep ball to Garrett Wilson, like we talked about, right? Then Breece had the 5-yard run, and then there was the sack. And it was good to see Rodgers take a sack and be okay.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think he needed to get hit for sure.
And there was a penalty on that. That was a full-on fucking blitz. Niners do blitz. It's not just a 4-man rush, right, on that one. Then the next play, 3 and out. We have Breece for 3, Breece for 2, and then Rodgers incomplete to Conklin. Did it say? Oh, there was an illegal formation, and it was declined anyway. That I remember that play. So yeah, there was something a little weird with. I think did Bosa get a hand on that? I could be wrong on that. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, that's like the first half. Which so basically like you only compiled like 7. You don't really compile like 8 minutes of real football with the ball.
Well,
right?
One of the stats. I'm not sure if you guys saw this in line with this time of possession conversation. There was a stat today that the Jets' time of possession last night was the lowest time
that Aaron
of possession
Rodgers has ever had.
that Aaron Rodgers has ever had. Right. Mm-hmm. So that was just it was a bad night, and it happened, and you just got to move on from it.
Yeah, but that time of why did that happen? Why did that happen?
Hang on. I'm gonna go to the next possession the Jets had in the third quarter. After 7 minutes, touchdown drive, Niners were to get the ball back. And mind you, there was back-to-back possessions for the Niners basically at that point. Rodgers to Breece for 12 yards, first down. Breece up the middle for 5 yards, and then the fucking great play by Fowles. The deflection, right?
Yeah.
And then Niners had the ball again. Then the Jets got a touchdown, and the touchdown they got was so fucking quick. 1 minute 49 seconds. That was fucking quick, right? And then Niners took the ball over for another 7 minutes for a field goal. And that was interesting too. What I'm saying? Like Niners had like these like really, time consuming drives at the end. And actually, I don't think the Niners had 1 touchdown in the second half, right? It was first possession ball back, right?
Yeah, that's what Shanahan's plan was, and he executed.
Keep the ball out of Rodgers' hands, and he said it too. I guess in the post in the halftime a little bit interview, right? Just keep the ball out of 12's hands or 8's hands, whatever it fucking was. He said, right?
Yeah, well, executed that with a third string UDFA running back, no problem.
Yeah, but also
it's so interchangeable. That's the thing. Like, that's a good run scheme. Like a lot of competent running backs.
Yeah, I mean, look at what his dad did with guys like Olandis Gary, right? I don't want to hear on, and also
great name by the way.
Yeah, great name. And Mason has been in the league for 3 years. It's not like he was an undrafted rookie free agent. He's been in the system. He's played. He's learned in it. So he had an opportunity and he took advantage. So I don't think discounting him by saying, undrafted free agent.
He's a 200-yard-a-year guy.
Yeah, and he had
That's it. He's done. He's
his third year in the league, right?
No, he's not. That is that. If you're in fantasy, that's a priority ad. That guy.
Yeah,
you're not.
He is going to get those.
Christian McCaffrey might sit out again.
Correct. Exactly.
Well, I saw a report that McCaffrey has Achilles tendonitis, and they don't know how long it's going to be. So he could be a guy that's out there for a while, and it just
I haven't even bothered with my waivers today or anything like that.
Yeah, but
The
yeah,
Christian
man,
McCaffrey thing hooked up for me because the person I was playing against had McCaffrey to go, and I was still gonna win because I was ahead. My team name was I Eat Ass. But yeah, that person swapped out McCaffrey, who was in the flex, for Conklin, which was fine, and I had Breece left. Did I have Breece left? No, I had Greg the Leg. Didn't really give me much.
yeah, I was down by 40. I had Garrett Wilson, 49ers defense, and Fred Warner, and I still didn't win.
I was
So
down.
I had to watch my fantasy team eat shit and my real team eat shit.
I was down 6 in one of my leagues going into that game, and I had Breece. And after he fumbled, I was like, "Oh no! Like this may not happen." And then he ended up, having a pretty decent game. So I ended up winning, which at least that was the small kind of,
I had the high total in one league, so I'm in first place.
Same. So
I had 3 of the 5 leading receivers for the week.
Yeah, I mean, my other league I did fine, but just that one team really that
Now
sucked.
it's okay to talk fantasy because we're in
That
fantasy
team
season.
sucked.
You know
That
what I mean?
team sucked. Oh yeah. Oh now it's okay because John's okay with it.
But I was just gonna say when John says it's okay, it's okay.
Yeah, right?
Get out of here.
Yeah, I just don't want to talk about fantasy football in fucking May. Or like
was it May?
March, like you were doing.
It wasn't May.
Yeah,
it was.
Right,
It was like it was July.
Question for you. Lazard. All right, it's back to Jets. Right, Lazard. Right. I'm gonna be right on him getting the over on his yards for the year.
Yes, of course you are. I mean,
what
I said that.
What was it?
We all agreed with that. We couldn't find the bet.
So I couldn't find a place to bet on it because he was just so insignificant. But on, I guess, the fantasy football projections were the only thing that were saying what he was going to get in yards. It was like 5 something.
Yeah, it's probably going to be like
he's already like 20% of the way there almost. Yeah.
And then his scoring total is probably going to be like 3.
He was one of the leading wide receivers in fantasy this week.
Yeah. It's fucking so stupid.
One
of people.
All right, so why don't we do this? Everyone kind of go through one thing they liked about the game.
All right.
Monty, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go first. I mean, what I liked about the game was, I mean, I don't want to do the low hanging fruit. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just I have to go with it. It's it's Rodgers, man. Right? It's Aaron Rodgers. I have to go with it. We haven't had him, and we didn't have him all last season. He hasn't played in so long. He hasn't done anything. We didn't know. The last time we saw him was a down year, and then now he comes out and puts together that drive, and that's a lot of hope. You know what I mean? If he can just stay upright, direct the offense properly, and put together drives like that on an as needed basis, and then keep the plays going, keep us converting, on third downs and stuff like that. Fantastic. I love to see it, and I was very excited to see competent QB play for the first time in like 10 years.
Yeah, I think I'll go with the offense also, but one part of the offense, the pass blocking was good. The pass blocking was something that we were able to, get a glimpse of. Tyron Smith was good. They gave Rodgers time. He was able to operate, in the offense. And another thing, just to add a little bit onto what you said about Rodgers, Monty, like it's the intangible stuff, right? Like he was in control of the offense. You never looked at it and panicked and were like, they don't know what they're doing right now. Like how many times that happened with Zach or whoever played last year. So I think that goes into like the offensive line looking like a pretty good pass block unit. They gave Rodgers time, and I think that was a pleasant surprise. Bosa had a pressure here or there, which he's going to do against everybody, but I was happy with the pass blocking, and I think it's just going to get better from here.
Yeah, I'm going to go Alan Lazard. Just because, like, his confidence was fucking shot after last year. And, like, all of a sudden he started, doing his thing a little bit. That catch was huge for him, right? And that's just huge from going forward, right? And even when he caught the second touchdown, yeah, it was in garbage time. Like Tyrod threw it to him, right? Which was nice to see actually as well. Tyrod kind of operated good offense, even if it was like a second team defense, right? But he had a look on the camera when he caught it because it was a fucking, it was really snagged in there basically, and I'm happy for that just because when Mike Williams gets in there. Who they really did? I think they gave him 2 to 4 snaps last night, right?
Yeah, it was in like for eight plays, I think.
Yeah, I think it was like 8 or 9. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever it was, right? But that could be big, especially since there was one thing to note with Hackett a little bit, which this is a little bit concerning that there was some play designs where there was a lot of overlapping and there wasn't that much separation, right, with the receivers, right?
He does that. He did that last year.
Yeah, he did that again last night too. But Rodgers, was able to hit people, which is probably why he went to Breece and Garrett so much because they can get the most separation, right? And Rodgers throws a fucking beautiful ball. But when you have like those 50-50 guys like Mike Williams and Lazard, you can kind of make up for it with that scheme, right? So I think they're gonna go back to the drawing board. And what's interesting, now this is out of the way, this fucking blunder of a game's out of the way, right? Rodgers is going to be, now that he has a fucking real feel of what this feels like in gameplay, like he and Hackett are going to really, I think, just work together to kind of make this work, right? And one thing I really like to see that Rodgers was doing, they were getting to the line a little bit early and he was changing the play at the line, right? You saw that a lot when, you see the little head thing. So, that's something that Zach couldn't fucking do last year, right? And he just wasn't because he's just not smart enough to do it, right? Or not smart enough, just too busy fucking hunting MILFs, right? But that's something that it's going to be very hard for defenses to figure out. Niners are just a very special team, and that very well could be your Super Bowl team right there. If you told me the Niners are going to win the Super Bowl, I wouldn't be fucking surprised by it, right?
Yeah.
But once again, mind you this, that schedule fucking lightens up, right? I mean, Will Levis was trash against the Bears, right? I mean, that pick was fucking stupid, but he was just trash. He was at the lowest grade of all quarterbacks.
Bears defense is good, though. But, yeah, also he's
okay.
trash.
I mean, yeah. Okay. What else? You have Bo Nix, who had flashes, but of stupidity as well.
He's not
coming up. Brissett didn't do anything special against the Bengals. The Bengals just couldn't fucking operate with whatever was up with Chase, the flu, whatever, and no Higgins, right? And also they have a new offensive line too, the Bengals, right? I mean, kind of a relatively newer offensive line, right? So yeah, it takes a little while for them to gel. It just, as Adnan said, the pass blocking looked pretty decent last night. The run blocking was last night, if anything. That does take a little time, and we saw that with the Ravens against the Chiefs too. Their blocking wasn't that good, that first game. And Lamar had to really create a lot of space in order to do that. Actually, crazy enough, Lamar got pressured way more than Rodgers did, Yeah. So I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with that. I think I'm confident enough that this offense can fucking get it together, and do something on the field every time. I don't go in to every possession saying, okay, this offense can't score. All right, now the bad and the ugly. And sorry, I took a little while on that one.
That's all good. We all take our time at times.
Yeah, you took 6 minutes in your opening rant.
Yeah, and you took 5 minutes right there, so you made up for it. Shut up and keep it moving.
2 minutes.
Jesus Christ. You love to complain and then do the same shit.
Right. John's such a complainer.
Oh my God, like my grandmother or something. Jesus Christ.
All right, who wants to go into the bad and the ugly? I mean, we kind of talked about it. It's a defense, right?
Yeah, defensive line pressure. Pass pressure is what I would say. Pass rush. Yeah.
So for me, and I know it's not a big deal, but I think a bad look, what the hell happened with Sauce when he was out for 10 plays? The broadcast said, oh, there's no injury. Then I got the wind knocked out of me. And it's just what is going, things like that just bother me. Just if he had the wind knocked out, say it, because we're sitting there wondering, like, did he get benched? Did something happen? What is going on? And then he all of a sudden is back in the game, right? So I think that just annoyed me a little bit, wondering what was happening, seeing him there on a knee. It was a little annoying to me.
Yeah,
He didn't allow a single catch last night, Sauce, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was targeted twice. He had a great game. He always does.
One target. And that was the one where he batted it out of Ayuk.
Yeah, that was a great play. Yeah.
That was so nasty. I was you can't throw to that. You can't throw to that. Holy shit.
To think of that in the moment at that speed and be able to react like that and make that kind of a heads-up play.
He waited for him to catch it so he could do that. That's just fucking nasty.
Yeah. And Ayuk was a little rusty looking too, which will happen when you try to hold out and miss the whole.
But he was catching balls that were going through trees, right? You saw that?
Yeah. That's never good enough, you know. Sauce isn't a tree. Trees don't hit back. But pass rush was just definitely just so bad. So bad. Just no pressure.
It can get better.
No pressure at all.
Teams. I don't know. Actually, here's a fun question for us, right, to talk about, right? All right, so obviously, like, the good thing about it is that there is a pass rusher that is available that is technically on the roster already, right? Like how long? Like, they're gonna bounce back heavy in these next couple games, right? They just are, right? The defense, I mean, right? The question really is, like, you know, if you feel like the offense is, if you feel like this team is fucking just a pass rusher away from winning a Super Bowl, right? Joe Douglas makes that call, right?
I think with Reddick back and Williams back, this team like levels up. I don't know if it levels up to the level of because to me right now there's a big three in the NFL. It's the Chiefs, Ravens, and the 49ers. I don't think we're on that tier. I think we get a lot closer than we are now if we get Reddick and we get Williams. I think they need to get off this bullshit of, oh, we're not going to talk to you unless you show up, blah, 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 blah. That's nonsense. It's 2024. There's email, there's agents, there's call, there's phone, there's whatever, smoke signals. I don't give a shit. You call the guy, you make the damn deal happen, because this is supposed to be a Super Bowl run year. We need to try to win as many games as we can. Get him in here.
You know, I think the interesting thing about that, right, with Reddick is, you saw last year Chris Jones held out for 2 games, and the Chiefs lost to Detroit, and then after the second game, they were like, you know what, enough, we got to get him in. I feel like the way this Jets schedule shakes out,
that might not happen.
If they win the next 3-4 games, they're going to be like, well, we don't really need the guy right now. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's going to be longer than we would like it to be, if it happens at all. I mean, he's going to come back at the latest week 10. He has to accrue the year and all of that, right? So I think, that may be when we see him. But in the meantime, I really do believe there's a lot of talent on this team, that young talent that this staff can coach up, and I'm not as worried about it until it impacts them. Like you said, Monty, if there isn't a pass rush next week against a vastly inferior opponent, right? If they're getting pushed around in the run game again against a rookie coaching staff, right? Will Levis and Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears and, first and second year guys on the offensive line, then there's a big concern, right? But until I see that happen against a team that is not, honestly, probably the best team in the NFL, I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. But again, Tennessee is the big one, so we'll see what happens there. But I think Reddick we'll see. We'll see what happens. I just don't know, I think the other thing you look at with Douglas is he usually gets his price. right? Like, how many times when we look at contracts, how many guys has he overpaid since he's been here? Not a lot. So I think he's very set in his way that here's my price and I'm not going to pay more. Right now, I think that changes with Garrett and those guys, but in the free agent market, I think that's how he looks at it. So it's going to be a very, very, it's going to be a drawn out standoff between the two of them. So we'll see.
I think you guys still may not be ready to admit it, but I think we are a lot closer to having to admit he's definitely not just a luxury. And I admitted that a while ago. I think it's going to be time for other folks to start to admit
what if he
that.
comes back and he sucks ass?
Right. I mean,
he's not going to be good immediately because he's missed all training camp. He hasn't played with the team, but he's still Hassan Reddick. You know what I mean? It's like Ayuk. It's like anyone else that's at the top of their game.
Look,
They're going to.
Trent Williams missed all of training camp, and he was the best
Trent Williams
be in the middle of the game.
He's not human. Exactly. He needed that there was a conditioning issue there. You lose something. Holding out takes something out of you because you're just not.
I think we'll see what happens. I think the big thing is, and Monty and I talked about it a little bit, before we started recording. It's like this team, there's a lot of pressure on them on Sunday, man. Mm-hmm. They can't have a bad game. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yep.
Yeah, just so you know, with their they were good pass blocking grades from their team. Trent was an 81, and they had all their guards. Every one of them on guards and tackles were above a 70,
which is crazy. Their O line is not unbeatable. Like it's Trent Williams.
It's a good O line. It's still a good O line.
It's Trent Williams way up here, and then the rest of those guys are.
But again, right when you look at the Niners. Like, again, we're just not giving them credit, man. That scheme made Lakin Tomlinson a Pro Bowler, right? And then he comes to the Jets, and he's a disaster, right? It's that
with the right yuck.
Right? Like, I just really think – I mean, look at Brock Purdy. You think Brock Purdy is that anywhere else? Jordan Mason, you think he's that anywhere else? They just know how to put people in the right positions, and Shanahan knows his offense, trusts his scheme, and says, I'm going to put you here, you do this, listen to me, and we'll be successful. And that's what happens, right? And the guys like Garoppolo that can't do it, Trey Lance, they're out the door in 5 minutes.
To your question,
just to kind of say something real quick on
Lions,
targets, of the completions that Purdy had, 4 of them were against Carter, Sauce, and Reed, 2 and 2 to DJ and Michael Carter, and 5 targets to Michael Carter, only 2, and then DJ Reed 3 to 2. Just want to say it.
Yeah. Oh, can we? And by the way, can we get a fucking turnover? Can we force a fucking turnover, please? At any point, like
Chuck Clark almost did it for us in the goal line.
This was a big. This is a problem for us last year too. Like we. Certainly for how good our defense supposedly is and is on paper and is statistically, we are shit at generating turnovers for some reason.
Antonio Adams almost had a pick too if Brock Purdy doesn't overthrow that.
Yeah. That was look. Yeah. I mean, I think the turnovers will come. I'm just not gonna worry about what happened against the 49ers and get bent out of shape over it. Again, it's these next 3-4 games where if there are struggles, if there are bad things, if they don't look great, if they lose on Sunday, then we're having completely different conversations. So I think it's all right to pump the brakes, understand what happened last night, and just kind of go from there.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to go to final thoughts because there is a presidential debate coming up in 12 minutes.
Yep.
All right. So, I mean, I guess we kind of said everything, right? But someone say something encouraging.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, I've said it. This team has talent everywhere, and they're only going to get better as they play together more, right? Again, Aaron Rodgers, I'll say it a million times, hadn't played a full game in over 500 days, right? That's gonna take its toll. So I think they have a lot of opportunity moving forward. His rapport with Garrett Wilson is amazing, and that's just going to get better as Rodgers knocks the rust off. You know, I think another piece of it is if they can stay on the field more, now that defensive line will be fresher, right? Defense as a whole will be fresher, and that will allow them to wreak more havoc. You know, so there are a lot of positive things on the horizon. So again, I've said it a million times today, I wouldn't worry about, you know, the Jets unless something horrific happens in the next couple of weeks. So it's okay. Everything's still on the table, including Super Bowl. I truly believe that. You just have to, you know, stack good days, like John said, game at a time, day at a time, and just stack good ones on top of each other. And the sky's the limit for this team.
Yeah, I think you don't need to see, you know, I think you can see a little bit and of certain things and get a big idea of the picture. I think we saw enough of the big picture here to know that this team is not on the tier of the top, you know, Super Bowl contenders, you know, right out the gate. I don't think it will be. I think we'll be a great team. I think we can be a, you know, divisional level team. I think early playoffs, divisionals kind of thing, enough for Saleh and Joe D to keep their jobs, and then hopefully, you know, bring us up in the years coming forward. But yeah, I didn't see what I needed to see versus the Niners to say that we deserve to, you know, work our way down and get to that level. So, you know, I'm disappointed about that, but I'm happy that we have confident QB play and confident offense.
Yeah, it may take some time, but I mean, obviously Titans are next. We're gonna do it. By the way, like, comment, subscribe. We're doing 2 shows a week during the NFL season when the Jets have games.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one just for the bye week. But anyway, it's good to see Rodgers get out of this game healthy. That was good.
Nice.
He really can fucking read a defense though. You know, it's kind of he is special. You know, he always has been special, and it's good to see that he's our quarterback. And there's going to be a lot of layup games in this season, right? Not layup. I wouldn't say layup because it's any given Sunday bullshit, right? But like, there's a lot of games this season that should be winnable. If you're good on paper, you should win, right? And I'm pretty confident that dude is going to out QB every other QB. Although Purdy had a fucking night, although he couldn't target our fucking corners. Like literally, that like Purdy beat us, you know, with the run and like targeting safeties and linebackers, right? That's really, and maybe out scheming open throws. That's really it, right? So, but Rodgers can fucking make every throw still, and that's really good to see. And even still, I will say this: even though all 3 of these fucking teams did win this weekend.
Oh God, you had to remind me.
Yeah, I did. Fuck the Patriots, fuck the Dolphins, fuck the Bills. Go Jets. Have a good one.